Hi there, welcome to my channel. This is The Witch in the Glen. My name is Alice, and I am a channeler. I am a starseed, oracle, awakened quantum being, and I resonate with the energy of the divine feminine. I'm not doing sign readings right now, but I'm, do carry the energy of my sun. Sign is Leo, my rising is Sagittarius, and my moon is Scorpio. So I am your moody champion of the shadows here, and I'm full of fire. So I love the transformation that you can feel doing a reading. Let's see. Okay. We are going to read from the cosmic. I think we're going to do this. Let me see. Some of these I don't see. It doesn't have the name on there. And I can't ever remember the Roman numerals. I have trouble. So the major arcana are designated by Roman numerals and the name, and I have trouble once it gets into the upper numbers, just automatically recognizing the name. Once you study the tarot, it makes a lot of sense. You understand why there's a progression from the Fool is the first card, and what's our last card? The World is the last card in the major arcana. So we are looking at the Hierophant, and it's an interesting, it looks like, no, I was like, it looks like a Five of Pentacles. Okay, it is a Five of Pentacles. Okay, so we've got Five of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, that makes me feel better. Let's see if they tell us. Yeah, okay, so the other ones are printed on there. Okay, good. But that's just a kind of, when you start reading tarot, you're not going to be able to do exactly the type of tarot that you see, because it really is, if you're really going to get into it as a spiritual practice, it's a language that comes directly through you. So spirit uses the way you talk, uses the way you think, uses the way you see things, uses your creativity, your storytelling, your words to transmit a message. And some people just read cards, and that's okay. That's sort of the first steps for learning tarot, or watching tarot and just getting a feel for it. So we have the Five of Pentacles in reverse. So let me remind myself about this. The Five of Pentacles in the upright is it's the out in the cold card. It's a really sad card where you've been abandoned by everyone, and you just really are vulnerable, and you need a helping hand. Like, you really do need a helping hand. This is a fear of the change. So in the reverse, this is going to be a fear of moving on and a fear of what's to come. It feels like a big leap of faith to leap over this out in the cold feeling. So let's see what it is that we are going to be moving past here. Okay, so this is the Cosmic Coven Tarot. I didn't tell you who the artist is. Written by Lillian Lazenby and illustrated by Mercy Morgana. And it's published by Ripe Avocado Witch. And this is a cool deck. I like these cards. They're like both colorful and of the night. So let's see. Okay. We have the Four of Cups, which is sort of a discontent here. Like, you've been working, and your payoff is coming in. The hand of God is handing you more, but you're kind of not feeling it. You're like, is this really my path? And you're a little bit, it's not stuck, but you're just sort of like not really feeling motivated. That's kind of what it is. So we have, let's see what else. We have the 10 of Wands here, and it's in reverse. So we're getting a lot of reverse cards in this reading. Let's see what this is about. Let's see what this is about. A 10 of Wands is like the ultimate alchemy. It is the ability to transform, and having all 10 wands is like you've gathered up all your strength and you're channeling it into your own alchemical abilities, which that means, okay, so that means that we are transforming energy that comes in. So if bad stuff happens to us, quote unquote, that would be some energy that we might transform through alchemy. Okay, we have the Ace of Wands in reverse. Yeah, so we have the 10 of Wands in reverse, the Ace of Wands in reverse, and the Star. Okay, so here is where the story starts taking a turn. It's like this has gotten off to a bad start, and you might have trouble moving on. There's been, you've gathered up all your strength, and you've been riding these waves of alchemy, transforming energy. So bad stuff that happens, you make the most of it. That is transforming. That's how you transform energy. That's one way you can transform energy. If you can harness your own feelings and sensations, you can redefine them. Because a lot of energies are very similar and can be seen as, just like you can, just like the number 5. So number 5 is an energy, and you can make up number 5 by adding number 2 energy and number 3 energy, or you can add together number 2 and number 2 and number 1, or you can add together 0 and 5. So you see there's like, so what I'm trying to say is there are a lot of different ways and a lot of different stories that you can invent, an infinite number, because you could get into, you know, 1.1 plus 4.9 would be, or 3.9 would be 5. You know, there's like an infinite number of ways that you can interpret energy. And when you lean heavily into one band of energy, it's often the lowest, the heaviest, the most anchoring energy there is. So whatever is the low vibrational vein of energy, that is often what you lean into. And this is where you can kind of spread out your consciousness of the energies that are actually there, and recognize that, recognize other bits and pieces of these stories. Like if you've been, this is when I'm a couples therapist and worked in couples. I worked with couples and families and in attachment and trauma for like, you know, I've been in that area for like 14 years, and I was practicing as a licensed counselor, and it just kind of doesn't match up with what I really want to do these days. But all of that is really important to me. So, anyway, so emotions, Hermit. Yeah, and let's see what else we had here. Oh, the Emperor, interesting. And the 7 of Cups. Okay, so there is, this is kind of a funny example, but the energy, the feeling, the emotion, the vibration, the neurology of anger, for example, is very, very close to the neurology and the sensation, the energetic qualities of sexual arousal. And so a lot of times when people have, this is the same thing as how fear is very similar to excitement in general. So if you can kind of tell yourself a different story about what the energies are that are coming in, you can actually alchemize those energies into something that you can really use. So if you're afraid of doing like a speech, or afraid of going on a first date or anything like that, you can alchemize that fear into excitement. You can tell your brain, I'm excited about this, and start thinking thoughts that, I mean, intentionally thinking thoughts about how excited you are about something, and you can alchemize that energy of fear. So, and I'm not saying that people should alchemize anger for sexual arousal, but it is a hint as to what might be traumas in your background, what is linked to anger, and what, so if your partner and you have really horrible fights and then you have really intense makeup sex, that can be a sign that might be sexual trauma in your past of some kind, or attachment trauma where you had some kind of, I mean, abandonment is a cliche, but just the feeling of emotional neglect in your childhood, things like that can be really damaging. And I want to be honest, most of my, I mean, like a third of my women clients had sexual trauma in their background, and most of those people did not present to therapy for sexual trauma. So if you have had sexual abuse, even when they were little, is what I'm getting at. So if you've had, or rape, and if you rape as an adult, or with a significant other. So what I'm trying to get at is that it's really common and you can work through it. This is a really cool way to work on working through it, especially if you get your own deck and start learning to read your cards yourself. It's how you get back in touch with it's a great way to get back in touch, gentle way to get back in touch with your intuition. Okay, so I think that was a story that came through. That's what I'm saying. There's like channeled energy that comes through, and spirit and source just tell me it's like it feeds through me the information that it wants to be conveyed here. So you had been in this state of, she caught a bird, so she's in big trouble. So she has a bell on now. She's a little sad about it, but we'll see. She's probably going to take it off. That's Clarissa. And there are 3 other pets around, but they can't be on the cards. So moving through that kind of energy, lower vibrational energy, like feeling out in the cold, or like you've been abandoned and have maybe sexual trauma in your past, or might have a lot of like instances where you, like, whether or not you define it as sexual trauma, you might have instances where you identify as having been taken advantage of, or if you've had sex ever and not really wanted to, that can be sexual trauma. Like whether or not you define it as sexual assault, which often it is, by the way, but whether you define it as sexual assault or not, you can still be traumatized by it. So this is a story of something like that, where there's maybe been abuse or a traumatic past, and you've transformed, and it's like you've gotten as far as you can go being able to attach to other people using the ways that you'd built up during this time of being out in the cold. It's like you've been gathering up snow to be able to give yourself water, but there's only so long that you can go filling up wine glasses with snow and waiting for them to melt. You know, you've been getting your nourishment in a really, in a way that's like not that nourishing or comforting. And so you've been really doing a great job of taking care of yourself, or you had been. And, I mean, in spite of everything, you know, you're filling up your own cup. You got to that. This is in the upright, you know, you're filling up your own cup, and God is coming in and helping you. I talk about God in a lot of ways. So, just kind of take whatever language kind of resonates with you, whether I say source, spirit, God, the quantum field. I talk about it in a lot of different ways. So this whole time you were in this pressure cooker, being in this reverse, stuck energy, out in the cold, abandoned feeling. So whether this was a dark stage in your life where you had felt like you had betrayed yourself, and you had just gotten completely turned around, upside down, and and had to dig yourself out. Or this might resonate for you more as even a childhood sexual trauma or later on sexual trauma. And I'm saying sexual trauma because that's what's coming through, and that's what that's what kind of came out when I was giving examples. But so we have, you're gathering up your strengths, but it's still in reverse. It's like you don't know how to harness it. The Ace of Wands comes in. So there are offers coming in, but it's like you can't see, there's this offer coming in from God, but she's turning away. And this is an Ace of Wands coming in. It's like a new offer for work or a project. It's a new inspiration. So it might just be the inspiration of like, I am too good for this to be weighing on me and controlling my life anymore, and I'm gonna start picking up the pieces. It's hard to do when you feel, I mean, the shadow is about dealing with loneliness and your own comfort and alignment with your own self. So we have okay, you really need to move, baby. We have the Star, which is like a dream, which is the dream come true. So it's like you have this dream that you've been working towards. It's like, see the lightning in her head coming in. I mean, I see that as both like both paralyzing and illustrative, and that rainbow too. It's like these things are coming in whether or not she can see them in this moment of her moment of the Four of Cups energy. These things are coming into her subconscious and from her higher self, and that is where it's like the Star is keeping her going. She has a dream that's pulling her along. And the Hermit, this is where instead of feeling in this lonely, out in the cold energy, this is where you've alchemized it into being able to step back. And whether this is now or maybe it's the timeline that you want to get on when you're hearing about this, if it resonates for you, you can alchemize that feeling into channeling it into you being able to get on the energy of this timeline. So, and hop in wherever it resonates. So it doesn't mean you have to start out in the cold right now and move forward. Really, it's like all of it should be fitting into places. So the Hermit is a way of alchemizing the energy of recovery from any kind of abuse, trauma, any kind of traumatic event, a divorce, a breakup, just even if it's not from an abusive relationship, these things can be, I mean, a divorce or moving or changing a job are actually the most traumatic events that people, I mean, according to Western science, those are the psychology, those are the most traumatic events that people can go through, and most correlated with depression and anxiety, and sometimes like a mental break and grief. It's like profound grief. But a way of dealing with that is to be able to get through and get in touch with the dream that is underlying all of your grief. Like, what is it that you're grieving? And what is it that you're missing in your grief? Because that is your dream. That's your star that you're working towards. And you have the Hermit, which is about withdrawing your energy and really taking, like, this isn't a lonely feeling. This is being able to take care of yourself. If you can withdraw, if you're able to withdraw from social life and things like that, you can, I mean, and if you, like, for example, I had and still have a big gravitation towards the Hermit. I love that mode. The Fool and the Hermit together is kind of my sweet spot. And the Hermit aspect, being able to be at home most of the time and I've disconnected from a lot of the unhealthy friendships and relationships that I had before, and I've rekindled the ones that are actually really beneficial and to me, people who actually honor my growth and are able to conceptualize, able to, you know, bear with me as I move towards, you know, as they are able to bear with me as the idea of me evolves, so they can tolerate my own evolution. Whereas a lot of relationships you'll find in your life, it's like people, it's sort of a selfish thing where people want to keep you in your place and like you're exactly how they've always known you, and you feel this sense of shaming from those people when you start to grow and move on from whoever you were. And that's just a natural path if you're in a on like a good ascension timeline. It's actually a good thing. So what's interesting here is that there is, to me, I'm seeing this as like you've been in emperor mode. So it's like, this is not a sexual, you know, your dream here is not necessarily a relationship right now. Like, you don't necessarily want to, like, that's not your biggest priority. It might be very important to you, but at this point with the star and this work through all this and getting to the hermit mode, you've recognized that in order to be able to connect with anybody and be able to benefit anybody in your life, you have to get in touch with your shadow and be able to work through your triggers so that you can actually meet people really truly where they are, instead of letting everything bounce off of your own shadow. So, or be like more appropriately be absorbed by your own shadow. So because this is where we get into trouble, like blaming people and getting into traps where people are able to take advantage of us, is when we haven't turned inward to acknowledge what has transpired in our life. Because the patterns that have been instilled are patterns that will keep perpetuating themselves until you've worked through them. So being in the hermit mode, whether you're in a relationship or not, like, I'm not saying abandon the people that you really love necessarily. I mean, sometimes you really have to take a step back to be able to reset. Like, it's doing a hard reset of your programming is what you do when you do when you're in hermit mode. And this should feel like a place where you can really grow. And it's a way of getting, you know, you get used to yourself. And a lot of times you have to hit a wall where it's just like no longer tolerable to be in the real world. My hermit mode really started out with divorcing myself from social media, and I stopped watching any current events, news, reading about. I used to read so much about current events, and I don't do any of that anymore. And I've been able to surround myself with people somehow. I mean, just a handful of people like who don't talk to me about current events, and it's just like I am blissfully able to heal myself without being triggered by like this inundation with information about the outside world, information about my 700 friends from, you know, social media. I mean, I completely cut off myself from those accounts and started new ones where I just post my own art and let strangers find me. Like, I blocked everyone I used to know. But it's like, it's so cool. Like, it feels so good. And I wouldn't be able to be doing this work because I used to feel like this would have felt like really weird. And it is weird, but I love it. But I wasn't in touch with my own dream. In no way was I able to do the hermit, because I myself was in an abusive relationship, which was, extremely controlling. You should look up coercive control if you never have, and you have any semblance or wondering whether you're in an abusive relationship. Here we have the 9 of Pentacles in reverse and the 5 of Swords in reverse. So let me flip these just to look. So the 5 of Swords, that is like you've conquered you've conquered something. So I'm seeing this as like conquering your triggers. And I think, you know, this has been, and see, you're wielding all the weapons. You've won the weapons of the other team, and they're all retreating. And you, when you encounter people who are lower vibrational than you, who take advantage of you, what really happens, this is why you end up ascending more. Like, you don't let people do that, because if you let people do it, they're not really taking advantage of you. But when people truly intentionally use your energy for their own good, like usurp and sap your energy, siphon it away, what's actually happening is that even though you're under their in a siphon with them, you're hooked with an energetic cord while you're still in that relationship, you are constantly actually gaining access to all of their higher energy. So while they are trying to trigger all of your lower energy to come out, because that's what they feed on, you are there's always an equal and opposite flow of energy. And so what's happening is that you have been siphoning all this high energy from all these abusers your whole life. And when you hit a spiritual awakening, or when you have a break, have a psychic death, or have a near-death experience, or something happens, you have a spontaneous spiritual awakening in yoga or meditation, you suddenly gain access to all this higher knowledge and higher energy that you had been basically gifted by all of your enemies for your life. So this is where karma comes back into play. And that higher energy is always accessible to you. If you were being taken advantage of by other people, guess what? You were already higher energy. You were already somebody who came in as a target, because these lower energy vibrational people vibrated like an octave lower than us. So that's why they sort of seem like seem like charismatic, charming people until you really get to know them. And then those same people can be the worst ones. And especially if you're a high vibrational person, you resonate like more often, because there are more people who are lower vibrational. More often, those lower vibrational people find you. And since they're like an octave lower, they seem like somebody who is like you. They seem like somebody who's compatible. And what's really happening is that your energy gets dragged down, and that person triggers your lower vibrational energy. But they're actually helping you. Like, those people suck, but what happens is their behavior helps you to overcome your shadow, because they're constantly triggering it. Unfortunately, a lot of people hit a point where they've been through so much trauma that they basically experience a soul death, or their soul retreats way deep inside, like a snail who's traumatized, or a snail who's terrified. They can get really far into their shells, like sea snails can, and I guess any shell. But that's what happens when you're being traumatized like that. You retreat into the background and hide from your body. You hide from your own soul. But if you can get out, it's really hard, and it takes a lot of inner turmoil to be able to reach that point of this, or it takes a break, which is like a total crazy event to make you snap out of it. Okay, so we had the 5 of Swords in reverse. So I'm seeing, you know, it's like you've conquered, but there's still a lot of damage there. And the 8 of Pentacles in reverse is like work that you've been working on. And let me see, sometimes just like to read, I have a cool book that I like to read from. The 8 of, and that's also, you know, you get called to comment more on the pictures, or this is kind of yeah, so the 8 of Pentacles can show that you're feeling trapped. It may be because you've chosen an educational course that isn't for you and doesn't develop your particular talents and reflect your interest enough to be stable long term. Okay, you're feeling trapped here. So this this is like, okay, so we had the Emperor come through. I'll put you, no, I'll keep those over here. I kind of like to go like that and then back and forth and sometimes just trace over. But you have been in Emperor mode, and I'm not sure if you are a divine feminine or a divine masculine. I've been feeling divine feminine, or feeling a feminine and masculine, are energies and polarities. Any gender can embody either of those, but you've been in Emperor mode, which means that you have been the one that's like large and in charge, taking over your life and launching yourself out of that. You had to be very responsible, very charging forward, assertive. You know how to reserve and direct your energy, with every energetic entanglement that comes along. You know how to protect your energy. And in the meantime, you've developed all of these psychic gifts. You've developed lots of wisdom, knowledge, skills here, and a very deep relationship with the earth. And so it's like you hit this Emperor mode, which is great, but then it's like you're not really the person who wants to, you're more of a feminine, and you don't really want to stick around in that Emperor mode. So here's where we hit this snag, where it's like you've been building up this stuff, but here it's more about your psychic gifts. And I'm seeing the palm reading, crystals. She's growing, she has a green thumb, she's growing these flowers with her hands. They're tarot cards, fire magic. It's kind of, and the Kundalini snake. And so it's like she's built up all of these powers of the divine feminine after using all these alchemies. And she is more, I'm seeing like more kind of in high priestess mode, but it is clashing with this Emperor mode, because it's like you need to be able to let down your control that you've adopted. Let down some of your boundaries to be able to embrace your more subtle skills. So your subtle gifts coming in. We have the Knight of Wands in reverse. So the Knight of Wands is about an offer coming in with something to do with this project you've been working on. And then a Knight of Pentacles in the upright. So it's like the Knight of Wands, you're having trouble getting off the ground with this work, because, and I'm seeing this is still related to this snag with the Emperor, all of this. It's like you've had the opportunity to, or maybe the opportunity to choose to charge forward has been there, but it's like you keep missing it. It's like you're not quite there yet. But the Knight of Pentacles is a card where money comes into play. So you actually, even though you've been caught in this, there might be a sum of money coming in, like some money that you win, inherit, money that you, like the seeds that you've sown and your newer pursuits are starting to come in. And so this might be where you get to drop some of the control of the Emperor, and sort of start letting down your guard, because it's like not only is there some abundance coming in, but it can be financial, and it can also, and I think it relates to the gifts that you've really been working on, like the skills and everything in the Pentacles. Let's not drop any of these. So stay, let's see, Queen of Cups in reverse, and the Eight of Cups. Okay, Queen of Cups in reverse. It's like you haven't quite gotten there. Queen of Cups is really sensitive, really compassionate, really kind. And it's like she's being taken advantage of again. So that might be where it's like, that's the fear here, is being in this Queen of Cups energy that's in reverse. Because there is a natural progression to moving to, if you're in a divine feminine mood, to move into a more vulnerable space before you hit the Empress mode, which is sort of the ultimate of the two polarities of divine masculine and divine feminine, are the Emperor and the Empress. So it's almost like it's a step on the way where you're worried about letting your guard down. You're worried about vulnerability. You're worried you're going to get hurt. You're worried that if you go back to your kind self and tear down the walls of like stoicism and you know, some of the walls that might be too much at a certain point when you might be hitting the end of your hermit, or kind of a soft end to your hermit mode, and you're just worried if you get out of that and start branching out, the Queen of Cups, your Queen of Cups is going to be taken advantage of. And but here we see it's like you're moving on from that. There is this rainbow that's footsteps are moving on. It's like, you know, in spite of those fears, you're trusting in the work that you have done, and you're letting the energy move on, move forward, in spite of the fears of the Queen of Cups in reverse. Ace of Swords. So Ace of Swords is, this is Ace of Swords in reverse. This is an action card that comes in. It could be something negative that comes in, something like, let me see what. Okay, and we have the Three of Wands. And it's like, look, she's in union with somebody. I didn't even see these cards come out. She's in union with somebody who looks sort of like an alien here. So it's like she is merged with her higher self, and there's higher vibrational beings. And what aliens are just elemental vibrational vibrations that are higher than the ones that we can see. And so they can manifest as, when they come down into the 3D, which is lower vibrational energy, when they lower their vibration, and when we recognize, which happens when we recognize them, then we visualize and manifest those beings into the forms that we recognize. So that's why some people see aliens, and then other people see benevolent angels, and that's also why people see lower vibrational beings, where some people swear they see demons and devils, and that can be something that, you know, a higher vibrational person can get entangled with a lower energy, and it can be really difficult to alchemize it, depending on, you know, which is dependent on their trauma. So don't worry about that, but that's, you know, you don't need to, I mean, you know, you don't worry about anything, but just know that that's something that can happen. So let's see, I'm just going to flip these. King of Pentacles in reverse, Ten of Cups in reverse, and Three of Cups. So this is like you, let's see. This is like you're starting to come together with somebody who's a King of Pentacles, but it doesn't quite get off the ground. And here you have the Three of Cups, and this is women, these 3 friends who are celebrating here. So it's like your friends are proud of you from moving on from this King of Pentacles in reverse. So it could be that this player who is here, this masculine from near the beginning might have still been in there. Like maybe this is a father figure or something like that, where it's somebody, King of Pentacles is wealthy and he's a caretaker and he is compassionate and reasonable and he's a good listener, but here it's in the reverse. So take all those qualities and reverse them. And the 10 of Cups, the happily ever after, just was not coming in with this person. Okay, you have a 4 of Pentacles, which is more about being in a stable position that where you're really benefiting from it. Whereas the 4 of Cups is like, 4 of Cups is like you're sort of getting bored. The 4 of Pentacles is like, it's like relief of like, okay, I'm at a resting point and I can finally start moving forward. So we have this 3 of Cups, which could indicate that you're now getting friends and support around you. I know she just wants me to take that off. Friends and support around you who are encouraging you. So you've manifested a social, come here, I'll take it off.
I'll take it off.
Okay.
Okay.
And we have the 2 of Wands here. So that's a trip that's moving off into the great unknown. You feel like you have the world in your hands. I think you've conquered some of these demons that you didn't even know you could move through. You got into this, you were able to elevate all the way to the Emperor, and then you've been able to get out of that energy and come into this 2 of Wands energy where you're looking forward and really, yeah, ready to move on. Okay, I think that's the end of our message today. I mean, right now, let me, I like pulling these. My higher self is always by your side. These are messages. Take them as you will. I call out to you, know that I am just a thought away. I hear you. So these are from your higher self, and or your potential divine partner. Okay, thank you, and we'll see you later.